Hi guys, welcome to the Dang Show, and today we're going to talk on mental health. Our podcast is basically related to ending mental health stigma, and today we have an amazing guest with us who's a psychologist and has specialized in relationship couple counseling. And welcome Noel to our show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
It's lovely to have you, Noel. So, Noel, let me not waste any time and let's just dive into the segment of our questions that we have for today. So, basically, let's start with what is relationship in today's time?
Okay. So it's a very interesting question because I think relationship as a concept has evolved over the past few years, and the definition our parents had is very different than what we have. On paper, when you look at relationship, any two individuals who want to be in a certain bond emotionally, physically, that is something which you call as relationship. And one crucial element in any relationship is commitment.
Oh, nice. So, do you feel that we lack commitment in these days, in today's time? Do you feel there's any difference in commitments that we've seen with our parents or what we are seeing in today's time?
Okay, so in traditional form of relationship, there's always commitment as a crucial element, like I said. But these days, a lot of people do shy away from getting into a committed relationship.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the reason you hear concepts or terms like situationship and benching and all those things.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot about these things. In our practice, I'm sure we come across all of these things. It's very difficult because every day there's some new term coming up. So, could you just give us few for the audience also the few things, the few new names for the relationship that has commonly been used?
Okay, so I think situationship is something which we have all heard of, and it's been around since past few years now. Situationship is when two individuals acknowledge the fact that they like each other, they love each other sometimes, but they cannot commit to each other. They cannot get into a relationship officially. That is situationship. Benching is when you might be in a relationship, but you always have another backup option. Like just like the word benching, literal meaning of benching in sports, let's say, is you always have some players as a substitute player in case one of your on-field player is injured. So that's benching, and there are other things as well. For example, people make pacts in which people say, we will explore the world, we'll explore the dating culture, how it works. But in case I'm still single till let's say 30 or 40, I'll marry my best friend.
Oh,
So that's a pact. So these
wow.
are some casual terms which people use.
Wow, something very different, and I'm sure we'll be having some new terms even in the future. Right. What do you think is the foundation of relationship these days, or in general, what is the relationship foundation that we need to work on or have?
Okay. I always talk about this. I think the basic foundation of any relationship should be friendship. If you're actually friends with your partner, I think it becomes much more easier because let's be honest, differences do come up, conflicts do arise from every corner, every now and then. But there's always friendship which you can always back on. And there are three pillars which I always talk about. First is respect. You should always respect your partner. Any relationship where there's disrespect, it cannot work. Second is trust. You always need to trust the other person. You have to be honest, and more than honest, you need to be transparent with them as well. And the third is communication. So,
Right. So when you talk about being transparent, don't you think it's also breaching certain boundaries? Because do you think it is really very important to tell your partner everything? Because would that be a conflict of not setting boundaries with your partner as well? Do you think that would be a concern then?
I think boundaries are very important, but you do need to realize that boundaries do not mean being selfish. Okay, so some form of transparency is very important. For example, there's a very common difference between honesty and transparency. Honesty is when you ask your partner that, hey, this is something which I'm worried about, and then the partner opens up. Transparency is when the partner comes up and says, hey, you know what, this is something which I wanted to tell you. So transparency is very important, it's very needed.
Right. Now, these days, Noel, I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of your clients, patients. We have a lot of youngsters coming with relationship issues where they're not able to handle, and there's so much of temptation outside your relationship. How do we help them navigate, or how do we kind of tackle such situations?
Hmm. So first thing I would ask any person who would ask me this question is that what are you actually looking for from the relationship? And everyone has different expectations or needs. And two individuals, when they get into a relationship, they do have to communicate these things as well. Some people need a committed relationship where they're exclusive and they say that you and me are a thing now, and this is a relationship, and we want to get into a marriage in future. Whereas some people are open to an open relationship. If you've heard polyamorous, polygamy, so that's something which they have to communicate.
Hmm. There's a lot of terms that we are these days listening or hearing about. So tell me something, Noel. When we see marriages not working, we see a lot of divorces that happen, or separation, or things not working out in a relationship. Let's talk about divorce.
Hmm.
So, how can that be avoided, or do you think that going for a divorce is a better option for both the partner, or do you think they should keep trying to work on their relationship? How would you segregate these issues?
Okay. There are certain cases, it's always dependent on the case, I would say. There are certain cases in which any marriages, it gets really complicated to work it out. One of them, primary reasons being abuse. Any marriage or relationship where there is abuse involved, I would always suggest make sure you look for your own safety. And in case that is the case, I would always suggest seek help for that. That's one. And other than that, I would say, what else were you asking?
So what sort of abuse are we talking about?
Oh, people always think it could be just physical abuse.
Right.
It's more than that. It's
Right.
psychological as well sometimes. It's verbal abuse as well.
Right.
So there are a lot of relationships or marriages where there's verbal abuses, may it be from the family, may it be from your partner. There's a lot of manipulation. So these are things which are very subtle, but these things do add up.
Do you think gaslighting your partner is also a form of abuse? Because I'm sure we have a lot of people going through this, but it's not very highlighted in the relationship because you feel that it's okay for the other person to kind of manipulate you or gaslight you. Can you bring a little light on what manipulation and gaslighting would be like?
Hmm. So what happens is manipulation or gaslighting is a very unhealthy form of communication, and it does violate one important pillar I was talking about from these three pillars. And for example, if you want to communicate something to your partner, rather than you communicating directly or effectively, you would manipulate them or guilt trip them.
Right.
And that is something which should not exist in any relationship.
True.
Because it does eat into other aspects as well. It's also a form of disrespect.
Right. What about since we are in an Indian setting and we have a lot of cultural background and conditioning that happens? So, what are my values, my belief, my culture, my religion doesn't match with yours, but I still would want to be with you? What would you advise for them going further?
Okay. So I think people look at religion in a broader concept, but when you think of it, even among religions, there are certain things people can always communicate and find middle ground to. Because, for example, let's say values. In our society, what happens is with each and every religion comes values, core belief which you have. And I think there are a lot of relationships or marriages which has worked out when you look at the values and you find a middle ground. For example, a person who might say, this is something which I'm not okay with, is your partner willing to respect that? So you do need to respect the differences.
Right, very true, and it's so important.
Yes.
Tell me, Noel, something, a very personal question. Are you in a relationship?
Okay. So this is a very frequently asked question from my clients as well.
I'm sure we all want to know.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one important thing. With my friends and close family, I always do discuss this. But when it comes to my clients or people when I'm working with, I always try to keep the both separate. It's much better for my personal life as well as private life.
Right, it's so important.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any tips, any advice that you'd want to give the people who are in relationship, marriage, or any sort of arrangements they have for themselves. Few tips. What do you feel that could work in a long-term relationship?
Okay. So one thing I would always advise people is individual therapy. I think we all do need individual therapy. And what happens is a lot of your attachment styles, a lot of your communication patterns are a reflection of how your childhood was. And if you have these things sorted out, if you're much more self-aware of these patterns and these styles from your individual therapy, what happens is even your relationship, even your partner will also benefit from it.
True.
So that's
Right.
something which I would primarily say out of all the advices I have.
Right. How, what do you see in your practice? Do you find couples coming in for therapy, or people in relationship being very open to therapy? Maybe one partner is okay, one partner is not okay. Then how do we navigate through the situations like this?
That's like you said, that's exactly the case which I see with my clients. Couple therapy, let's say, what happens is one partner wants to make things work out, other partner has already believed that this is not going to work, this is not going to help us. So what happens is we do talk much about how you guys met, more about the relationship, and like I said, the purpose, what do you expect from the relationship primarily. And slowly we do realize if both the partners actually want to make it work out, we find certain goals and we collaborate and work together. That's what I see. However, in relationships, what I've seen in individual relationship cases is that people do come in when it's too late.
Right.
When things are almost at the brink of ending, termination is when they say, "This is the last resort. Do help us. I'm almost gonna break up, and I think I need help." So I would say it's okay, even if the relationship is going well. That's the reason I said you need individual therapy as well.
Right. What sort of clients or patients do you see in your regular practice, because you've been specializing with relationship and couples? What are the few one or two real concerns that you feel are very common these days?
I think attachment styles, that's one. One person might be in a very secure attachment style, and some individuals do have anxious avoidant personality. So what happens is sometimes that becomes a big problem where the individual is very confused. One partner is very confused. Why is this person withdrawing all the time and then coming back and doing love bombing? So that is something which happens a lot. So we have to navigate through that. That's one. Second is love languages. That is something which we all know about, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who do not know the theory of it. For example, there are different forms of, words of affirmation or maybe physical affection and acts of service. These are things which people do not know about. Just an example, and I'm not taking any personal cases, I'm just giving you an idea, an example. What happens is one partner might complain that, my partner does not get me flowers or maybe chocolates. I wish he would have done that. But what happens is they expect it and they do not communicate. Sometimes it's very important to communicate that this is something which means a lot to me.
Right.
So that is something which happens a lot.
Also, Noel, one very important question that I have faced in my practices, and I wanted to know it from you, that can the childhood trauma or the childhood conditioning impact the relationship that we have today?
Yes, of course it does. What happens is you are actually conditioned and you have grown up in that environment that now it's a familiar thing for you. And what happens is you always do tend to find a partner who is similar to that, so that there's some familiarity.
Right.
Let's say there are people who might have gone through some childhood traumatic events or experiences, and when they see a secure partner, it seems something is off to them. That's the reason a lot of clients say that it's too perfect, something is off. I think there's something wrong, and they do end the relationship. So what happens is there's something unresolved, some baggage you have from your childhood, and you have to work on that before.
Right. Is it okay to have arguments and fight in a relationship? How healthy do you think that is?
Absolutely okay to fight, and I've always said this to my clients as well. Fights are inevitable. Fights are very crucial to knowing each other and to sometimes communicate that you matter a lot to me. This is a choice I'm making. Let's work it out. But two things which I have noticed. One is partners do try to score against each other. They make it about me versus you. It should be us. That is
Right.
one. And there's always one thing which is it's not about what the fights are, it's about how you fight.
Right.
So there should be mutual respect and you need to communicate better.
Right. How important is the we statement in a relationship, because we tend to kind of use this, I need this, I want this, you got to adjust to this. So we are using a lot of these statements in our daily conversations with our partner. How do you think we can help, or how do you think we can practice the we statement or us statement? How do you think that can happen?
Two things. One is when you say, I feel this, I think this happened, this is the case, I wish you would have done that, you're emotionally expressing yourself, and that's fine. But the next step is you actually have to communicate how you can actually do it better.
Right. So it's very important, Noel, that, let me rephrase this, like, I have this concern, so and so, and I think we need to work on this.
Yes.
I think the I statement and the we statement is very important in any conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
The next step is you collaborate and you work towards it, because any relationships will have all these problems thrown at you, and it's about how you navigate through it. So then you have to say, okay, we have acknowledged the problem, because acknowledgement is the first step to finding a solution to anything. Once you acknowledge it, now how can we work on it? How can we make it better? So that's how we statements are very important, because that also gives you a sense of security.
Right.
That what we have is still very secure, and let's work towards it. So we statements are very important.
Right. Now, of course, how do you feel? Or because there's a lot of stigma, right? And this whole show of ours is about mental health and mental health stigma that we have around. And you know how difficult it is for us to kind of explain this to our patients, also to, you know, take therapy and, you know, kind of have the smart choice of taking therapy sessions. Now, I've seen that the younger population are very keen on, they're okay with, you know, taking therapy sessions. Or how about the older you know, older adults that we have? How do we kind of have the psychoeducation across to them, that if you have concerns in a relationship, you know, it's okay to talk to a therapist or a counselor? How do we break that stigma? Now, the stigma that we have, how do we break that?
One thing which I often actually see is that older adults also come in, okay, but the thing is, people from that generation always go to a therapist when things are too late, okay, and that is something which we have to break, and that stigma takes time to go. But I think there's a positive change which has happened, because people from this generation are much more open to communicating, and a lot of our clients also do communicate right now with their parents that, you know, therapy, I'm going to therapy, try to understand. And I think it takes time, but I think we'll get there.
Where do you think is our country going or heading towards in terms of mental health when it comes to relationship? Do you think we're getting better? Do you think we are taking that help, or you know, that assurance that we need, or, you know, the guide that we need? Do you think people are coming out and open in terms of mental health?
I think I think a lot of clients from this generation are coming in for therapy, but there's always a flip side to it as well. There are a lot of people who still have that stigma. Certain parts of the society still have that stigma that relationship is something which we can always manage, and there are alternate forms which people actually find. For example, people go spiritual path, or maybe people might go to their religious places or religious leaders to make sure things work out, because there are a lot of cases where marriages are almost at termination, they're actually going to get divorced, and rather than coming into a therapy session, they go to their religious leaders and they talk to them to find some solution. So I think sometimes it's very important to realize that you need professional help, and that is something which we have to try as mental health professionals to promote.
Right. Wow, that was a very good insight, Noel. And of course, we would want to get into the deeper aspects of relationship. And maybe in the next segment, I would really want to talk about specific relationships, because we have various types of relationships, right? I mean, we need to open to the mass audiences. So I would definitely would want to have you here again to talk about certain topics. But it was lovely having you. But I would want to know, how can one connect or get in touch with you in terms of relationships, right? So how do we tell our audience to get in touch with you? What's the source? How do you take your online sessions or offline sessions? What's the way to get in touch with you for sessions?
So I do take my own practice. I have my own venture called as Anchors by Noel. It's a space where you can come anytime for counseling, may it be individual therapy, may it be relationship counseling, may it be couple sessions as well. And I do have my clinic in Goregaon in Mumbai, and you can come offline over there, and we do take sessions online as well. So you can always reach out to me on my number, which would be given,
Right.
and my Instagram. You can always come to that.
Wow, great. So, guys, we'll be flashing an email ID where you guys can connect with Noel and get in touch with him if you have any concerns in regards to mental health, relationships, or anything as such related to mental health. Thank you, Noel, for being here and giving us your time. It was really lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, guys, so today we have Noel, and we're looking forward to have more such guests with us, from the fraternity of mental health. If you guys have any questions, any queries, please do feel free to reach out to us in the given caption, email ID or the number. If you have any questions, please do ask us, email it to us, and we'll keep it in the next segment. Thank you.